to hear some dog shit players' take on the rebalance? All the item and adjustments? Look, we've heard everybody's opinion, and I was just thinking, what do I have to offer? Literally fucking nothing. I have very little experience with endgame content, and I was thinking, I know how I can help. I can add my opinion to this. So, let's go ahead and do it. I was gonna make a video earlier today, but unfortunately, I got very busy. I literally I didn't look at anything, read the entire post, wrote a shit ton of notes for it, and then, like, as I was writing notes, I then realized I had to go to work. And so I left to go to work. I was like, fuck it. I listened to a couple people's takes. I think I listened to Seibay's take, No Monkeys, and some other people's takes. I forgot exactly who. Maybe Solo Mission or some people. Took a little bit of their feedback, got some ideas from what they said. I'll try to sprinkle them in here and there throughout this kind of post. But I've kind of seen people's opinions about this. Apparently, when I wrote this, when I saw headlines from people who, thumbnails and shit from people's older videos, and I was like, why is everyone freaking out? You know, like, why is everyone freaking out this? It's like, some stuff just isn't even that bad. Then I realized that apparently I got the updated version, the 18th version, and like they put like the updates here, but they also don't show you what the old updates used to be. So I was like looking at these, I'm like, why is everyone complaining? This stuff doesn't look that bad. And then, I mean, I still have criticisms, don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of criticisms. But I was like, this isn't that bad compared to what people were talking about. And then I realized, oh, they just updated all the old ones, so you can't, they literally fucking rewrote the past, so to make sure you can't see what they did if you didn't watch the videos. But anyways, we're gonna go through, it doesn't matter. So I don't have really any critiques on the old stuff at all. I might sprinkle it here and there, but I'm gonna talk almost exclusively about the new stuff. So, let's get into it. First things first. Okay. All the different changes. We're not even really going to look at the document because I kind of just typed notes about everything that they talked about that I thought was relevant. So, first thing that they're going to talk about. Magic gear and the occult necklace. Jagex starts off by painting a very particular narrative about this. They say, hey, like, who would win? Like, actual, like, Bis Ancestral or one occult boy? And then, like, the truth is, oh yeah, the occult wins. And that just feels really bad. So we're gonna fix that. So the solution that they propose is they want to redistribute the power of magic gear, redistribute the wealth of the magic gear, basically, and redistribute the power of the occult to other pieces of gear. So I think their change, as of right now, is to give all the ancestral pieces an extra +1 magic % damage. And the rationale behind that is that they want to make it so, yeah, they want to make it more equal. So I think the effective math works out so that, if I'm not mistaken, the effective, I'm going to have both of them open at the same time. There's no reason to not have both of them open at the same time, basically. What was I going to say? I think the effective math works out. That sounds like it's a little bit loud. We'll lower it down a little bit. I think the effective math works out so that at the high end, at end game, there is no difference between best in slot mage robes and like gear and the occult. Like, there's no difference in DPS really. I think, well, there's a slight difference. I think that now if you use augury, you'll get a couple extra hits off essentially with the better magic gear, because they've now changed augury and all the magic prayers to deal a little, have % magic damage on them. And the point is that it's just to make it a little bit more fair, essentially. I think their goal was just, oh, it doesn't feel good that occult is like that. Now, there's pros and cons to all this. What did I put in this? Like, I kind of, when I read this at the time, felt like, let's just look at the pros and cons. So the pros in my mind of this whole change are that they're increasing damage across the leveling experience. I think this is a good thing. Like, overall, it feels crappy when you're going from, like, hey, you get 0% magic bonus whatsoever, then you hit like 90-something crafting, and you get all of a sudden, this is talking about more like for the Iron Man experience, or like whatever, it doesn't matter. You get, if you have Injured K, you can buy an Occult Necklace, and that's a huge buff, and then you get like the Imbued God Cape, and then you get the Tormented Bracelet. That's pretty much your best in slot magic gear for like a very long time. Nothing else that you use is going to be even remotely comparable at all. until you get like Ancestral, which is a tiny little boost for like hundreds and hundreds of mil. And that feels really bad, and I can understand that. So redistributing that power into prayer, into other gear, because what they've decided now, so I don't know if anyone's seen this since the 16th post, I keep wanting to say 2016. I'm so fucking cooked. I've been working all day today. But what they decided to do is to add % magic damage bonus to like all the different pieces of gear. So to all the Aram's pieces, to all the Elder Chaos Druid pieces, to Blue Moons, Blood Barks, Ancestral pieces they decided to nerf. Before they were going to be 4% for each of their pieces of gear, now it's 3%, which is still fine because now 3 pieces of Ancestral, because before with the Occult it was 10%, plus the Ancestral robe set was going to be 6%, so that's 16% damage bonus from those 2 items. Now it's going to be 9 plus 4, which ends up being 12, so it's a little bit weaker, but you can use, you have other pieces of gear now which also boost it. So now you have the boot slot, that's the key thing, the Eternal Boots now give 2%, which is pretty nice, so you can get 2% extra magic bonus from that, which gets you up to 15, then your ring, which was always fine. You have Augury, which gives you 4% boost. Now, if you think about it, I know I'm going to sound like a kind of a weirdo now. If you're using like the Shadow, since the Shadow triples all magic damage % boost, effectively, since they are down in this new setup, new best in slot setup with full Ancestral, Occult, and Eternals compared to just like the old version of the game. This is the newer version is going to have what? 9% from the Ancestral, plus 4% from the Occult is going to be 13, plus 2 from the Eternal is 15. That times 3 is going to be effectively 45% magic damage boost that would come from the Tumikins. It would come if you're wielding Tumikins using that gear. I mean, obviously you're going to use more stuff than that, right? But just for the sake of comparison, I'm just trying to say like, oh yeah, you're not I'm trying to prove that you don't really lose out on any damage at all as long as you're playing Augury, essentially. Because all the other gear, it's not gonna matter. If you wear Tormented's not being changed, the Imbued God Cape isn't gonna change, the Magus Ring isn't gonna change across the 2 steps. So we're just looking at the part that set the pieces of the armor that would actually make a difference in the percent damage increase. And if you look at that type of stuff, the current setup in the game is that you actually, I think, get what 16% damage boost, right, across all that gear. And so if you multiply that by 3, you get, what was it, 48? But there's no way you don't get any extra magic damage bonus from Augury. So using the full Ancestral, Occult, and Eternal Boots and Augury, you actually end up getting 49% magic damage boost with the Tumikins. I think the prayer doesn't get the prayer magic damage doesn't get modified by the Tumikin Shadow. So you end up getting 49% magic damage. 49% magic damage boost versus the current game, which is 48. So it's actually a net buff overall, a 1% buff, which we're gonna get to because I have a lot to say about 1% magic damage buffs. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think what they've done now is they've now made it so Aram's isn't so ass. Like when you get Aram's or Elder Chaos isn't bad. They're now making, what's it called? Where's Infinity? Blue Moon pieces are now not useless anymore. They were never useless. They had a use, but within this new framework, they would have been useless. You would have just used Aram's, basically. Ancestral is fine. Eternal Boots, having a boot buff. Okay, it gives usage to a boots. One thing I forgot to mention, I think in my notes here, which I didn't write about at the time. We'll get to the boots being an issue. People were complaining about boot swapping. And I thought about this, and I'm like, you know what? They're right. They have a good reason to complain. It's really fucking stupid sorry, it's not stupid. It feels bad to have to bring boots with you to places now to get maximum DPS. It's not the end of the world. I'm probably just like, this is probably one of those things where it's like, yeah, if I really want to crank out that extra DPS, sure, I'll bring them, but like, realistically, I'm never gonna do this. This is just, boots are just not good enough to justify. And I think there's a good reason why for this, that I feel this way too, because 2% damage boost, it's gonna tie into my larger point here, and I'll get to it in a second. I know I'm kind of mixing, and I'm not talking about everything I want to talk about right now, but we'll get to everything in due time, don't worry. There's a lot to talk about with this whole thing. We're just in the magic right here. All the stuff is fine. Elite Void getting stronger, Seer's getting stronger, fine. Arcane Shield getting better, Ancient Wyvern Shield, Malediction Ward getting better, Mage's Book getting better. Mage's Book, okay, one thing I said that was interesting, they also added percent magic damage boost to Infinity and to Third Age. The nice thing about all this, they're actually giving a usage to fucking MTA now. Let's go. MTA actually no longer dead content. And I think I was writing, where is it? Infinity no longer just bis drip, true. And Mage's Book no longer meme content, actually true. And they're trying to make that MTA rework good for something. I mean, like, honestly, they put a lot of work into it. I think, I'm still not unwilling to be convinced that the idea this is all just a fucking psyop to get us to go back to MTA because they put a bunch of time into it and nobody went back. That's my take, but well, I don't really hold to it too strong. Anyways, okay, so what were the pros? I said this is kind of cool. It makes the leveling experience a little bit better for Magic. Not bad. Magic damage, praise are no longer a meme. This is so true because, like, honestly, when you're oh, I can't show you something. I was going to show you guys something. Okay, when you are using Magic in the game, obviously, Mystic Lore, which is I think the second level prey, the advantage you use it because, like, currently relative to Augury, it is like half the power of Augury. The only downside of it is that you don't get defense, but sorry, and it's like 1/5 the drain rate. So it's like in a lot of situations it's like actually almost just as good, and it's insanely useful to use. So like in so many situations, let me drop the volume. Hopefully this isn't too loud. We'll see later. Anyways, it's not bad. It's not bad, and it's nice. This it just means you're never gonna use it. I think it makes sense that we're having to use Augury now. So, what the fuck is this song, bro? What the fuck? Okay, anyways, doesn't matter. I think it's fine now that the magic prayers are getting a little bit more useful. They have a buff to them. They make the leveling experience a little better. Overall, this is all good. I've said that like 8 times. Anyways, it's not a lot, but it's still something, right? We're gonna get to this point here too. Okay, and it's giving more utility to magic items. Eternal boots have more utility besides just be completely min-maxing. Yeah, before, when people that were taking eternal boots in the Magus ring were like hardcore sweat lords. Most people, you're never going to even use them. And it's giving some utility where now it's like, oh, well, now I have a decision behind if I want to use them or not. Seer's Ring, okay. 0.5% damage boost. Oh, cool. You know, it will eke out in some places, be somewhat useful as certain gear setups and stuff like that, right? And then Void Mage, oh yeah, I put this as well. They increased Void Mage to now go from 2.5% to 5%. That's actually really nice. I think this gives utility to Void Mage. It's no longer a dog shit setup. Like, I think Elite Void Mage actually might be really good in some setups now. Like, so I'm gonna have to look at this. I think this might make Elite Void Mage like one of the best setups you can have for Mage. It's really, really nice. Because it's essentially, I think, as good now as... It's better than Aram's. And all you're giving... But you are giving up Tormented. That's the big thing. So you are giving up the Tormented Bracelet, which is kind of bad. But for low levels, it's not bad at all. So it's really nice to have this setup. Now, all of that said, there's two big cons. I did put the boot and ring swap as important. Okay, I wasn't completely out of it yet, like earlier. Okay, I'm just out of it now. Anyways, so the first thing I said was need to be using Augury like everywhere now. Yes, like Augury is now just super important. You just need, like, it's just like, it's big for your damage. You're just giving up, you're just losing out on it if you're not using it. Boots and ring swap are semi-important now. Only, yeah, I think I kind of retract this. I don't think they're necessary. Like, you're not giving up that much damage if you don't bring them. But, like, it's kind of, like, going to feel in the back of your mind, like, oh, I'm bringing something that is kind of ruining it. Because I think somebody made a good point of, like, how, okay, so currently, a weapon swap, cape swap, necklace swap, helmet, robes, legs... and then maybe a ring swap, or a boot swap, whatever, or a glove swap. That's an 8-way swap. That perfectly fits in like 2 rows of your inventory. A 9-way swap is just really fucking cringe, and a 10-way swap as well. Just giga cringe to fit in your inventory. So I think overall, I'm not a huge fan of this part here. Like, I just like, it's like, it's fine, I get it. These should have damage on them, but I really feel like they shouldn't be that. I mean, I think this is fine. I think they're not that strong, so it's like okay, but yeah. Anyways, the big thing I put down as I was, this was like half of my thing. It wasn't even a thing discussion on here. So in their post, they never mentioned this once, and I feel like this is something that like we just got to talk about. That rubs me the wrong way whenever I look at this. Magic is just fucking horrible. It's just trash. It is like the worst, like, where is it? It's just bad. It's the most expensive style by far, not even close for anything else. And then like, it's just horrible. It's not good. And it's like, we're just making it, okay, we're making it slightly better, but like, there's so many, like, okay, here's Magic. Level, and then like your DPS in Magic. It's like you start off really good early, and then like you one second, let's make Magic blue. You out DPS every other style. Like you're better than melee, you're better than range. Range and melee are like really low, you know, really down here. They're not good, right? But then Magic kind of really plateaus hard. It really plateaus hard. I mean, it gets Ivan Blast level 50, gets a huge spike again, but then it plateaus really, 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 really hard. When it gets the Trident, it gets like quite a bit better, but by this point, like this is like what? I don't even know what color to fucking put here. This is like what? 75 mage. This is for main accounts. If you're an Iron, you're not getting fucking a Trident at 75 mage. So yeah, but everything else is just way... I mean, obviously, I can draw the graph however I want it to look. I get that. But, like, everything surpasses it so much earlier, and it just stays that way. I think like... I just feel like, okay, do whatever you want in terms of shifting around everything. It doesn't really matter that much. Like, sure, it's better now that, like, Arams has some utility... Or, sorry, Arams was always good Magic gear, but it's because it had, like, good armor, even though it literally was the equivalent of putting your character's feet in concrete, because that shit weighs, like, 80 pounds for no reason. That being said, aside from all that, Arams is good. All the mage good is good. All the mage gear is pretty good. And the damage increase, percent damage increase is nice. But it's just, like, useless. Like, it's just useless. It's so crap. Like, if you want to think about it, if I put on a fighter torso gives me a 1 DPS, a 1 max hit increase to all of my melee gear, just by itself. And that gear, the fighter torso, 1 gear, if I were doing like 20 damage, which you would be doing more by that point, that 1 extra damage is essentially a 5% damage increase. No, and a fighter torso was not hard to get. Or whatever, I can go to Perilous Moons to get the Blood Ravager, like, armor set. Like, or even just a fucking Glory, or an Amulet of Strength. Like, there's so much easy shit I can get that is, like, essentially the equivalent of an occult necklace for that point in the game. Compared to Magic. That's, like, super fucking easy to get. All because of what? Magic was, like, it had a stronger early game. Like, I think I did a quick couple of calcs. Full Arams. Mage's Book, Occult, Tormented, with Augury, and then I put an Ancient Brew on, because fuck it, why not? This is a setup that I thought was, like, somewhat reasonable. A Tormented's still pretty hard to get. And then with an Ancient Brew, I was doing 39 max hit with Trident, off task, Trident of the Swamp, by the way. In a melee equivalent gear, by the way, it wasn't an equivalent gear. It was way worse. It was like Dragon Boots, a Fire Cape, a Glory, Fighter Torso, Obsidian Plate Legs. And the way I justified Dragon Boots is because it's like 80. You actually can get it technically at, I think, 70. Is it 80? When is Miss Spiritual Warriors? Because I think technically the Abyssal Whip is 83. Or is 80? Is it? You can get it technically at 80 with Wild Pies to boost you up to 85 Slayer to kill Abyssal Demons. In that situation, you're doing like, and I also, you're doing like 3 bar max hits. And by the way, I even include this, by the way. I fucked up the calcs. I didn't have time to fix it. I was using a regular strength potion. I wasn't even, obviously this is using Piety as well, but they're using Augury here. And Augury, you have to get from a fucking raid. And like, I didn't even bother calculating rage, because rage is already more than this with the blowpipe. So you're just sitting here, and you're just scratching your head. Like, Who the fuck cares? Like, what? Like, okay, I'm not trying to say... The point I'm trying to illustrate, by the way, through all this bit, the point I'm trying to illustrate through all this, when I say who the fuck cares, my point is not that, like, we shouldn't do it. Like, it's gonna help a little bit. My point is, we're missing the big fucking elephant in the room that's causing all this headache in the first place, which is just that the Shadow is way and away the best thing in the fucking game for Magic. It's just so good for Magic. And the problem is that the way its effect works fucking handicaps the whole skill. It is exclusively what causes all the problems. Like, there is no reason why the Occult, Aram's, Mage's Book, all that stuff should make you do this much less damage for a dog shit setup on other styles. I might sound angry. I'm not actually really that angry. I want to make a big disclaimer, by the way. I love Jagex. This is probably the hardest I'm ever going to get into this whole Project Rebalance. Everything else I'm kind of indifferent about, except for the Nightmare changes. I have a lot to say about the Nightmare changes as well. But in my mind, I think I'm Jagex company, love them. I think they're great. I think that pound for pound, best development staff ever, hyper creative, really good team, very attentive to feedback, very communicative, which I love, and I'm very thankful that they do all this stuff. And I'm thankful that they care enough to keep making changes like this and to keep us so up in the loop with it. So thank you, Jagex. Really appreciate it. That being said, this has always just been, to me, the silliest, like, I don't know why we're bending over backwards so hard. Like, think about it. All we have to do is just remove that silly passive off the Shadow. Just rescale the Shadow. Like, let's look at the Shadow of Tumikin. Like, this is how you fix all of this. Like, we're trying to do all of this to make the leveling experience better. It's still gonna suck. It's still not gonna be good. All we have to do, which would fix literally all the problems. And like, by the way, I am totally, if somebody wants to tell me, hey, you're not taking this into consideration, understandable. I understand. Let me know what I'm missing, and I will change what I'm saying. Level 99 does 34 damage. Which is like a little better than everything else, but like not that great. With an Occult, because it gets triple, it's 30% more, it does 44. Alright. Already, just the Occult in and of itself in the current game, better than any setup you can use. Better than, like, yeah, even full Ancestral, tried and everything. It's just one item makes it so much better. And like at the end, when you're at the end game 71, this is if you're using this is off task, which I think is more important to calculate, by the way. Off task. This is when you're gonna be doing it for like raids and stuff like that. This is like overloads and shit. Overload plus whatever, right? Or is overload plus? Isn't overload plus? You're at a magic level of no, you're at 120. Okay, cool. So at 120, you're doing 71 damage, which is not. This, I think, is pretty high, but if you're using a Scythe rates, same thing. If you're using a T-Bow, it's around this amount too. It's a little bit higher. And the thing to remember about the Shadow, it costs a lot of money to use. I think the T-Bow is technically a little bit more expensive because of the dragon arrows, whatever. If you're using Amethyst, which is a tiny decrease, by the way, for like a way cheaper cost, then you're doing about the same amount of damage and like way cheaper relative to this. So that's one thing that's important to take into consideration. The armor sucks. It's like really low defense whatsoever. You have no defensive stats whatsoever. But all that being said, I mean, we have the issue of, I don't want to go down a bunch of different tangents, but the point is, it's like, it's max gear. What did I say here? Every upgrade you get is just not, every upgrade you get to Mage is just relative to other gear is just not that good. All this stuff is just not that good relative to like all the other stuff you get. In range, it's not even that important because the weapons and armor in themselves are just so fucking good that it just doesn't matter if the armor's good or bad. And what else did I say here? Yeah, half to a third of your damage from magic from melee comes from your gear range. This is so fast and it's so powerful. And at max gear, it's equivalent, but like, it's not going to be now with the boots and ring slot basically absorbing some of that defense, absorbing or being needed necessary for some damage. I think it ends up offsetting. If I'm not mistaken, I think with the current changes, without the boots and without the Magus ring and augury, it ends up being equivalent to what best in slot is now, which is fine. So I don't mind it. I think they were thinking about this, which I think is good. But overall, Like, all this change just to keep Shadow the same amount of power, if anything, give it 1% extra damage boost, and we haven't adjusted anything. We've barely done anything in the mid-level, because this is something I thought about, which I didn't even think about it at all. Let's say I get full Arams. That's all I have is full Arams, or Blue Moon, or something, or Infinity. That's a 3% magic increase. Let's think about something for a second here. If I do 20 damage, and I increase this by 3%, what's 3% of 20? I guess that's just, whatever, it's parentheses, it's implied multiplication. So 0.03 times 20. Oh, look at that! We don't increase the damage at all. What if I do 25 damage? Oh, would you look at that? We don't get any damage increase whatsoever. In fact, you have to use at least Mystic Might or something with an Ivan's Blast and full Arams to get any noticeable damage increase. By the way, this 25 is the damage of... I don't even think it's the damage of Fire Surge, by the way. Do you guys understand how fucking crazy that is? That, like, literally, we're not even increasing the fucking damage. It's so low. The 3% increase is just tiny. So you're going to have to use the Mage's Book and everything just to get the extra 5% increase. And I don't know if... my assumption is... They didn't say this about Infinity, but my guess would be also Infinity Boots count as a piece of Infinity, and same with the gloves, so they also count as a 1% increase. So I'm assuming a 7% increase by themselves. The Occult Necklace for Iron Man is obtained at 93 Slayer, and you have to get it on task. And the Trident, by the way, I forgot to say this as well. When I was talking about here about melee versus mage, the whip doesn't even have to be gotten on task. The Trident does. And then you have to get the fucking Fang from Zulrah, which is like a mid-level boss. It takes time to get it. Like, dude, it's just Magic is just so dog shit, and like they could easily fix all this. Like, oh, we're gonna add a 0.5% increase to the Seer's Ring. If you think about this, literally this does nothing. It does fuck all. Because if you think about it, at bare minimum, to get a single point of damage increase, you have to do 200 damage. Like, maybe in a few setups, you will see this do like one extra max hit. It will just push you over the edge. But like, you're gonna bring that ring when you have multiple gear? Like, no, you're not gonna. Fuck off. You're not doing that. Literally everything in the this is a worthless upgrade. It does nothing. Sorry, I shouldn't be so venomous. I really am not actually that mad. I'm just trying to amp it up for like effect. I've been trying to talk about this shit all day, so I'm fucking ready to go. Like, it's just, yeah, like there's just a lot of things like this. Like, there's no reason Arams can't be, like, I'm not even joking, like the entire set being 10% more damage bonus. Like, there's no reason why it can't. Occult can stay at 10%. Who cares? If they do 20% more damage, it still wouldn't even be that much. Like, that would be okay, I think, even if you did that. Because if it was like 27% damage increase for Trident, for a Trident, by the way. So let's say you're doing... Because don't forget, you have boosts you can get. Let's think. Let's look at this for a second. I haven't looked at this yet. Trident is at 99. No boost at all. So 31, and I got a 27% off 31. So 31 times 1.27. This is because if you just to keep the number together, it doesn't matter. 40 damage. This is like semi-more comparable. We're not even including the fact. So 31 times 1 point. Let's assume we're doing augury here. 31. 41 damage. There's no even. I'm not using Ancient Brews. If I'm using Ancient Brews, I might get a little bit stronger here. I think you do 33. Okay, well, I think you can just start to do more comparable damage. Like, there's no reason why we can't have that. Like, legitimately. I'm not going to sit here and do a full calculation for how everything should work. I'm just saying, like, think of that. I'm saying you could literally triple the stats on Arams, double the occult, and like it would not even be a problem. It would make Magic comparable to the other styles. Like that's the thing that to me is just baffling to me, because like Magic is good until people can hold a fucking dragon scimitar. and then it dwarfs magic, and then the gap just never closes until you get one item at the very, very end game, because you're stuck using a trident. Even with the best magic gear, with like a fucking Elidness ward, full Aram's Mist, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. Even with the best in slot gear that they are proposing, because they aren't shifting the max percent you can get unless you're wearing Eternal Boots and a Magus Ring, the damage is still crap. Because prior to the Shadow, everything fucking sucks. Everything sucks in Magic. So all this is just at the end of the day, it's just like, I don't know why they're trying to fix this. All they need to do is just say, okay, hey, you know how the Shadow gets this like crazy buff in damage because it multiplies your magic damage? We're just gonna get rid of that. We're just gonna make it work exactly like a trident, except it's gonna be like really strong. It's just gonna start at like fucking 70. Just make the Shadow so it starts, you want it to be 71% with the full bonus here. I don't know what they need to recalculate this armor to be at to make this more fair. I'm assuming they could easily figure this out. It's not that hard. I mean, I could figure it out if I really want to sit down and do it. It wouldn't be that hard. I just have a lot of other stuff I have to do in my life, so I don't spend time doing this, and I don't work for the Jagex development team, right? It's not my job to figure that shit out. But it's not that hard. Like, they just gotta, I think, play with it a little bit and they can figure it out. But like, literally just make it so it starts instead here, or whatever, at 99, make it start and do like 50 damage. Or something like that. And so that when it ends, it's like, hey, it will do, you know, I don't know, and maybe let's say it starts at 50 and then it starts at 50 or something like that, so that when you boost it up by 25%, it ends up doing what, an extra 15 damage, 65. So you want to do maybe like, if you're going to add an extra 40% damage boost per se, like just across all the magic gear, 40% damage boost across all the damage. I don't know if I'm just working with rough numbers here. You'd have it so that it would be 70-ish. Like, yeah, I mean, like, why not do that? If you do that, I think you fix all the fucking problems. You can make Magic a better leveling experience, make the items feel meaningful and actually have a value. Like, it just feels like we haven't done anything. It just feels so stupid. Like, I don't know. It just feels like it feels pointless in my opinion. So, just change, it's the one change in it, and then it enables the ability to add so much more stuff and to give so much more flexibility. As it currently stands, we just can't. We're just stuck with Magic sucks still. The gear is different. Surprise! Like, we've reshuffled everything. Okay, who cares? Who cares? You know, it barely does anything. And then, like I said, like, at best case, it barely does anything to affect the Magic experience. We made it a little bit stronger, but it's still so way and away. Even if you were to have best in slot gear, but with crappy stats, you still would be worse off than like mid melee and range gear. Okay, I think I've murdered that point to death. Let's move on to the next points. That's the main thing I want to talk about for that. Okay. Next thing. Oh, we're not gonna talk about that. We're talking about the Soulreaper axe. Okay. Here's the changes. They made 3 changes to Soulreaper axe, and that's all they did. And this is literally my fucking my reaction as I was reading it. The first change they made for the stack. So if you guys don't know how the Soulreaper axe works, you hit an enemy with it. It gains I believe you take 8 damage whenever you hit an enemy, but you gain a stack of something. I don't know what the fuck it's called. As you gain the stack increases, I believe, your damage by 5% and your accuracy by... Sorry, no, it increases your damage by 8% and your accuracy by some other number. I think it's 5%. So you get up to, I think you get up to 5 stacks, so you get a total of 40% more damage or something? Okay, now I'm just making shit up. OSRS Soulreaper axe. How does this work? 5 soul stacks... okay. Each soul stack gives a player 6% boost of their strength level, additive with prayer bonus. I need to look exactly how that works. I need to think about how that works for a second. Okay, so it's separate to the prayer bonus. Okay, so that makes sense to me. 6%, 6. So then you get 6 times 5 stacks. You can get 30% more strength level, which is pretty big. Strength level is separate from melee strength, or from strength bonus on gear. And then the way gear and melee strength level works is they multiply together. So, but it's not the part. It's a pretty big fucking buff. It's a huge increase. So yeah, and then once it gets up to full stacks, you hold on to these and you start whacking enemies, and you can heal up if you want to. And then if you use this, then basically when you use this, when you have the axe, it actually charges up. Those stacks charge up as like a special attack, basically. And then you can unleash them at any point to gain back all the health that you used up in that consumption of it. And then you can deal a pretty increases your max hit by like 30% or something, or something. I don't know the exact statistics. It doesn't really matter the special attack for this. It's just important to know that that's how that works. But there were a couple of problems with the Soulreaper axe. The main problem was that the length of time, you couldn't hold on to these stacks indefinitely. The stacks would disappear after 6 seconds of not hitting the enemy, which is really fucking bad because it makes the weapon almost unusable. In between fights, it's unusable for sure. If you're fighting the boss over and over again, it becomes unusable. And then, like, you know, in almost any situation, it becomes almost unusable. It was a fucking dumb change, basically. It was a dumb effect. It made it unusable. And if you swap the weapon to another weapon, swap using the Soulreaper axe to another weapon, you would lose the 5 stacks immediately, and I don't think you would get your health back. So, like, it just became this really hard to use and just cumbersome. Like, if it worked, if you could use it consistently at its max level, it was like a really powerful second best in slot weapon. Which, honestly, fine. It should be, because it's really fucking hard to get. But but it wasn't like that. The changes they made 3 changes and they fucked off, and like, honestly, all of them are fucking goated. The first change, no losing stacks upon changing. Like, thank God. Like, pretty nice change. If you can't use challenge gear, good. The delay now between when you start to lose stacks is 12 seconds. Doubled it. Honestly, kind of goated and necessary. Pretty fucking sick. And the last change, they didn't even have to make this change. They just decided to make this change. When the stacks decay, you lose them one at a time, I think. Now, I think is how it works. Which I don't think they ever... When the stacks naturally decay, they'll heal you for the damage you took while building those stacks. So I think you lose a stack each time, whatever, each 12 seconds, so you gain the 8 health back. Holy fuck, kind of based. Like, this weapon is so hard to get, but it's just so unusable. And the fact that they're making this like this, like, even when they make all these changes, it still won't be better than the fucking scythe. It still won't be better than the fucking scythe in some situations, which is honestly fine. It's okay if it's not better than the scythe. But, like, the fact that it's so useless, it's not useless, it's so hard to use in so many situations that people, even the best players are like, fuck it, I ain't using this damn weapon. Like, that's gotta tell you something. But these changes will make it, like, it's actually now, like, a really just good weapon, and, like, I'm thankful it's in the game. I'm probably gonna go for it, to be honest. It's so sick. I love the way it looks. I love the weapon. I just never wanted to use it because of how hard it is to use. Anyways. Okay. That's all there's to say about it. Like, literally, easy done, big dub, good job, Jagex. That was one of the things I want to talk about for this project rebalance. In general, I don't think that most of the changes suck. I think most of the changes are actually pretty solid. I mean, I'd have to actually go and count every change they made and count which ones I think are good or bad. But, like, some of them are just weird. Like, the magic one is, like, I actually think it's a net positive. But I just think that, like, it just screams to me, like, the big issue is still there. Like, why haven't we changed the shadow? But whatever. Anyways, the big fuck off hammer, the elder maul. Okay, truthfully, they just added this. This is like, these are all the final changes now. So this isn't like from yesterday, whatever. This isn't like what it was yesterday, or it's on the 16th. So the spec. So what they did basically now is they made it so the weapon has a 50% spec that works. That is a 35% defense reduction on the enemy and a 25% increased accuracy. Thank the fucking Lord. Like, thank the Lord. They're making the weapon actually fucking useful. Jesus Christ, who would have guessed it would have been this hard to do so? I literally just wrote cooking with napalm. Like, truthfully, it was such a... They made the weapon go from being dog shit to, like, fantastic. Within, like, such... It's a mega rare from a raid. Why was it so bad for so long? I think the idea what they got was from Tecton, which I think was, like, fine. But, like, it took a long time. I look, and I think I wrote here, like, yeah, the Dragon Horn was dropped by Lizzo Boys, and the Elemental was dropped by Endgame Raid Boss. Why is the Hammer need to be the literal best defense reduction weapon? True. Like, why does... I know I'm literally reading this as if, like, somebody else wrote this shit. The person that wrote this was fucking me. And I'm like, yes, queen, yes, queen, yes, queen. But it's, like, literally... Of course I fucking agree with this shit. Okay, whatever. That being said, overall, I'm very happy with this. This is great. Thank God. Two fantastic changes in a row right now. Big question though is, can we do the same thing with the glaive? Now, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, but, like, not hyperbolic. I think we should make the changes to glaive. I just think the question becomes, like how they're gonna do that. Like they could easily, like, this is like, we're going this direction of like, it's okay to make gear a little. I think they were so afraid of buffing gear, and like, I'm sympathetic to being afraid of buffing gear. I get it, but I'm more in favor of buffing gear and then saying like buffing gear that's like really hard to get, like the glaive. The Tenzaltics of Raylos should not be so fucking bad. It shouldn't be so useless. And the Dragon Warhammer should not be. I mean, it's fine if it's like something is a little bit better than it. It's okay. The 35% damage reduction is not that much more. The increased accuracy is enough to make people want to use this weapon now a ton, to be honest with you. But like, yeah, like the Dragon Warhammer isn't bad. It's a good weapon, but it's dropped by a fucking like level 100 mob, right? Like, let's just, it shouldn't be so useless, so whatever. Overall, I'm happy with these two changes. I don't have a lot to say because I'm happy with them. They're easy. It's just like, yeah, W. Let's get this in the game as soon as possible. I'm happy with them, you know? Soulreaper Axe, like, change it. Give it to me today. Like, I'm happy to go for it. I'm happy. Okay. All right. Inquisitor's armor. I don't have a lot to talk about with this. A little bit. So what? Oh, sorry. I love to talk about. Okay, I need to read what they did for this because I still do not like super understand what they did. Okay, I think the way the current setup works is that it's 0.05% accuracy and damage boost per a piece of gear, and then as long as you have the full set equipped, you get 1 extra percent. So it comes 2.5% of damage and accuracy, which is like, again, let's think about this. If you have 100 crush accuracy, makes you go to 102. Like, who fucking cares? It makes you go from 100 to 102 accuracy for the defense of rune or fucking adamant armor, and like a little bit. It makes you go from 100 strength bonus to 102. It's like the 2.5. I think we don't realize the 2.5% increase is just like so tiny. It doesn't matter. Like, it's like, it's fucking wild to me, some of these changes. Like, I just don't. Sometimes I see that and I'm like, these are just so irrelevant. But whatever. So what they're doing now is, what do they say? I think what they're doing now is they're making it so that when you use the mace, I think they're changing the. Sorry. When using the mace, they provide an extra 2.5% damage bonus to accuracy and damage. In the full set with the mace, the total bonuses increase from 2.5 to 7 to plus 7.5%. Wait, did they? Now I'm confused. This doesn't make any sense to me. Now I'm fucking cooked again. This is 2.5% was how it was. Now they want to add an extra 2.5% to accuracy and damage. With it, while using the Inquisitor's mace, Inquisitor's armor pieces provide 2.5% in a full set. Okay, sorry. So if you're using the mace, then each armor set gives you 2.5%. Versus how it currently, versus if you're not using the mace, it only becomes the 2.5%. Okay, so the mace effectively adds an extra 5% damage bonus. This makes the mace, I think, go from being 89 strength to being like, I don't want to do the math in my head right now. I'm fucking tired. Times 1.075. Oh, that's a little bit strong. Oh, did I do that right? I did do that right. It becomes 95%, 95 strength bonus. So it ends up doing 1 extra max hit. In some cases, maybe 2. So, like, it's fine. It's fine, but like not that good. Like, you know what the problem? I don't know if this is like, maybe I don't want to speak out of line here. I just feel like, did they check these numbers? Like, I mean, like, look, when I'm doing math, when I'm trying to design something, the goal is not just to pick a number that sounds good. The goal is to like pick a number with a purpose. Like, I want to make this a reasonable stepping stone between this piece of gear and this piece of gear. It should have a number that makes it like, oh, sorry, actually, that criticism will come a little bit later. Because you can make it like very cleanly, that criticism. That we'll get to that in a second. When we get to the Phosani's Nightmare. Anyways, just remember these numbers in mind. To me, it's like, on the surface, this is not really anything that's that important. Again, it's a 1 max hit increase. Who fucking cares in many situations? Who gives a shit? 1 to 2 in most cases. It's like, fine, but like, still, the main thing is like, why would I go for this? And they really should just make the set give the accuracy and extra damage by itself. Yeah. I think I said here, they should really just give the set and the accuracy. They should really just give the set the accuracy and extra damage that you would have got from the mace. You might actually make it fucking useful. Like, you might actually make ink have some use. Other than just like, I want to hit my Dragon Warhammer a little bit more. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, and then I'll get into this later with the time it takes to get the stuff. But we'll get into that in a second. It's fucking nuts, by the way, just to forecast how... When I did the math and thought about it, I was like, you know what? This shit should be, like, actually 20%. Like, I'm not even joking. It should be a 20% bonus to accuracy and damage. Like, with how long it takes to get this gear, you could almost justify it, but we're gonna get there. We'll get there in a bit. Let's talk about the Voidwaker for a bit. Everyone's favorite topic, the Voidwaker. Okay, so the change they made. The original change they made was having everybody being like, I'm gonna delete this fucking weapon, I'm gonna sell it immediately. The change they were gonna make was to remove, so the way the Voidwaker works is I think it hits guaranteed 50% to 150% of your max hit with the weapon. Guaranteed. For, I believe, 50% the spec? Or maybe it's 75%? I think it's 50% the spec. They changed it so that instead of doing that, now it rolls 300% accuracy on slash and magic. I think it takes... What they were gonna make it so that just the Voidwaker special attack that no longer ignores accuracy, but instead rolls. Oh, this is the current change now is they say plus 100. This is kind of distracting. It's 5 times the accuracy. Then it rolls against them depending on which one is lower. Now, all well and good. The big problem behind all of this, I don't think they realize how much this doesn't matter. This is what I was thinking as I was doing this. Like, I sat here and I was thinking, let's calculate some situations where you would use this. And like, if I'm using this in, what's it called? Like the end of TOA, where I'm trying to finish off the kill. If I'm using this in, let's look at where you use Voidwaker. Let's just look where you use it, because I mean, like, this will explain how this doesn't make any sense at all. Used, show, okay. Special attack is used in Giant Mole, no one cares about Giant Mole. Vorkath, no one cares. Vardorvis, it's used in Vardorvis, right, to finish off the Awaken stuff. It's used in, it's actually the Ultimate Iron Man guide. I gotta get that, because I'm gonna be making a UIM later, soon here. Anyway, that's a whole separate thing. It's used in Tomb to Mask It. It's used in a lot of places. But like, truth be told, in those places now, it will go to, like, if you're doing like a 500 level raid, I mean, if you're doing 400 level raid, it's not going to matter. Like, in most situations, this change is not going to really affect the weapon's power that much. The problem is, it takes it from being like a weapon that like would have some utility in like these situations where you just need a guaranteed hit to close out the fight, to now it's like, I'm never going to touch this weapon. Because like, why the fuck would I want a weapon that has now a chance to fuck me? Versus just like a guaranteed, I want an extra brew or item that can actually help me. You know what I mean? Well, I think Nomaki made a good point, which is like, why would you ever use this back in the way it originally was? Why would you ever use this versus D-Claws? True, there was no reason to. Now it's got some more reason to be used. He made another point I thought that was actually really good, which was that like, how is this currently used? You use it against monsters with really high slash and magic defense. Versus like in situations where like, and I think the good point that was brought up is that like literally its accuracy is what matters. I think the concern that Jagex has is that like, oh, we can't have a weapon that has guaranteed hits, because then we will have no space to introduce more accurate weapons. Like that space for rewards is closed off to us, so like we can't do anything with it. Now, I kind of want to finish up my point here, and I'll get to where I'm going with that. I'm kind of distracted because I'm tired. Anyways, I did this. I said, yeah, I said, I think I put down, depending on the situation, this could be ass, and then I realized, yeah, very insightful. I know, very, very interesting criticism. It was a very interesting insight. Anyways, but I guess people are panic selling this. Did a few calcs in places where it really is important to use. Yeah. From where I saw, it was like, it's going to be missing 1/4 to 1/5 at the time. And like, in my mind, I'm just thinking, why would you want to bring it then? Like, why am I going to bring it? It's not guaranteed. And you bring it to places where it hits guaranteed because it's like useful to do so. But like now it's not useful to do it anymore, and you're like, okay, well yeah, I don't want to use a weapon that's not guaranteed to hit anymore. It's just pointless. And somebody even, I think, what did they bring up? I think it was Seibei that brought up like, you can make this weapon have 10 times accuracy, and like it still might not be worth it to use. Like that's a good point. Like the value gotten from using the weapon is so high. I don't think it's reasonable to nerf it like ever. I don't think this change is going to go through. This is just a bad change. I really think this is not a very... I understand what they're trying to get at here, but I think they're going to make the weapon, like, really bad by doing this. Just really bad. Like, I know what they're saying. Yeah. Now, this gets into a bigger... This gets into a bigger point that I was trying to I'm going to illustrate, which is that the idea of opening up reward space by nerfing items or changing items without any concrete plans laid out. I just think this principle, like, look, I understand some of these changes I see with like elemental rebalance and this. I'm not necessarily against even all of them. I'm not even necessarily against it. But I don't know if I agree 100% with the logic that Jagex is taking currently. Actually, you know, maybe I should cover this at the end. I'm sorry. I know I'm running all over the place. We'll get there in a second. I think... one second. We'll put a note here. Talk about Talk about rebalancing gear and rebalancing / nerfing gear / nerfing gear to open way to new options is a bad or let's use a more sophisticated word, poor strategy. Poor design. Okay, anyways, that being said. Next thing, Ancient Godsword. They're changing it so now that the spec of the weapon only heals up to 15% of the target's max HP up to 25. So basically this just means to change their PvP. What the fuck is this song? Up to 25. It's... Dude, how loud is this shit? Okay, I hope it's not too loud. Like, I literally am not going to record this again. Anyways, I literally said no comment. I don't PvP. I have no awareness if this is good or bad. I think they made some good points about how it's going to shift the differential around the HP, which is fine. I just don't... I have no knowledge if this is going to be good or bad. PvPers, please let me know in the comments down below if this is going to be, like, disastrous or not, but whatever. Okay. The next set of things they decided to change was drop rates. Now... The first thing they talk about changing is the Dragon Warhammer. So they're changing the drop rates from the Dragon Warhammer from 5,000 to 3,000. Okay, it's still gonna take a long fucking time to get this item. It's still gonna take a long fucking time to get this item. I wanna see if I can find the picture. Oh. Where's the picture? I can find it. It's a really funny picture. Oh yeah. Check this really cool picture out. This will give you some insight into my... Let's see if I can zoom in on it. Yeah, that's right. 9 Lizardman Shaman kills? Dragon Warhammer. I'm not even joking. And the best part about that, too, the best part about all of that... Did I take the second one? I should have another one. You know when I got my second? Like, literally, like, 30 KC more. Oh, yeah. It's like, 138 KC. I got a second. This was fucked. This was a fucked vlog. Anyways, I'm going on to... This is a... people can hate me. I don't give a shit. Y'all just mad. That being said, if it makes you feel better, I held onto that second Dragon Warhammer for the longest fucking time ever. Sold it at, like, 30 fucking mil. And then it shot up to like 50 later. I fucking hated myself after that one, but... So, you don't have to feel too bad about that. But anyways, that being said, I was literally going for it. That's when I got it. So anyways, Dragon Warhammer change. All that being said, yeah, I don't mind if they lower the drop rate. I don't mind if they lower it at all. I don't care. And I think I put down, like, some irons are gonna be crying about this. They're gonna be, like, so thankful that, like, thank God this is gonna make my grind so much easier. Or, like, they're in the middle of the grind. They're like, oh, I might have a chance. Others are gonna uninstall because they went super fucking dry. All I have to say is that, fuck off. I don't care. It's just, like, guys, this is just better for the game. 1 in 5,000 drops are just stupid. They're just stupid. Like, it feels so bad to, like, I feel like time is a big factor in determining whether a drop or going dry is a problem, but also the number. Like, just seeing that you're like 1 in 10,000 and you haven't gotten your drop yet makes you just want, I would want to shoot myself, I think. Even if it was like, I think in some situations, if it was like taking me 30 seconds to get a kill, I would just hate it. I would just hate that, to go 10,000 dry. I feel so bad. That number just would make me feel like I've used up so much of my life on something. You know, I don't want to feel like I've used up that much of my life on something, you know, going for some drop or something. Anyways, whatever. Okay. Overall, I think it's a good fine change. It's a fine change. Next thing. Drop Fosanis. Now, let's talk about what they're going to do. So what they're doing is they're going to increase drop rates by 50%, adding dupe prevention for the armor. So what that means is essentially all the different armor pieces are going to be increased so that they go from being a 1 in 120 to 1 in 90. So much less time necessary to go to get the item. Plus the Nightmare Staff is also going to be a little bit easier to get now, so that's cool. All that stuff is easier to get. What else are they going to do here? Oh yeah, orbs are now way higher to drop as well. And everything has, yeah, and the Inquisitor piece is now dupe prevention, so you don't spend so fucking long going for it. Let's address everything at once at a time. So the first thing let's talk about was that I said, like, thank God this shit was impossible to get. Yeah, it was absurd. The drop rate is horrible for these items. Fucking horrible. For collection log, it's like the one thing I'm dreading. But I'm gonna have to go for it eventually. That being said, what did I say? Interesting to know is that it also decreases the variance. Oh, this I don't think is that important of a point, so let's ignore that. This is irrelevant. Previous self didn't know what they were talking about. That being said, I would say that irons are crying right now, but the truth is that no one... Yeah, that's the truth. The truth is, I would say that people would be crying, like, of joy because of this, or they're crying because of, like, oh, how dare they? But the truth is, nobody went for this shit. The people that went for this shit quit the game. They're not playing anymore, all right? Or they're doing something else in their life, and they don't care. And they heard the word trauma, and then, like, literally had a fucking flashback. You know, we're not... Fuck the nightmare. It's too much. It's literally called the nightmare for a fucking reason. And it's not because the boss is annoying. It's because the boss is cringe and the drop rates suck ass. Like, the end of the day, this is necessary, like, to make the drop rates better. It's just, it's so bad. The drop rates are so bad on this. It's abysmal. And I was thinking as I was hearing this, people were talking about. I heard some people talking about it, and then people were saying, like, "Oh yeah, this sounds fine. Like it could even be lower." Blah, blah. But then I thought about it for more, and I said, "You know what? Something is not clicking in my head here." So I'm a very big math guy. I really like just like, why are we just saying random numbers? Let's just go calculate it. It's not like it's a hard thing to calculate. Well, actually, sorry, it's a little bit hard to calculate, but if you do collection log stuff and you get really into it, you can find the math for how this stuff works. So I'm going to show you the calculations. I'm not going to do them right now. I can show you them if you really want to know. They requires a bit of calc knowledge. You don't have to know how to do it. You plug it into a calculator, because that's what I fucking did. I'm not solving that shit by hand. Actually, I don't even know if you could. I think it's an indefinite. It doesn't matter. The point is, I don't even know if it's technically solvable by hand. I think it has to be done in a computer, if I'm not mistaken. Or it doesn't matter. But you can do this. You have to look up, it's called the modified coupon collector problem or something like that, to figure out how long it takes to get a full set. I calculated it. Doing Fasanis at the rate the wiki says, which, by the way, the wiki is full of shit sometimes on how fast it tells you to get stuff done. It's like, oh yeah, you could do like 80 runs in an hour. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Why am I getting like 50? You know? But I could just be a bad player at the game. Anyways, that being said, the 200, I calculated, like, if you're doing 6.5 runs per hour, it's going to take you, I think, around, oh god, I'd have to calculate it again. I don't remember the exact number of attempts on average to get it. It's like, oh man, fuck me. How much is it again? Let me look, if I pull out my calculator. it's a 1 in 1,000 drop for any of the items of the armor. Just to get to full Inquisitors. Just to get full Inquisitors. Just to get full Inquisitors, it's 1 in 1,000 currently. They're increasing it so that I think it goes from being the roll, and that is going to 1 in 90, and then it's... Wait, how does this work? It's a 1 in 90 times 4? Wait, how does this work? Extreme Inquisitor pieces... So it's... I gotta figure out the exact math. I think it doesn't really matter. Actually, yeah, sorry. It doesn't even matter for my point. It doesn't matter for my point. It doesn't matter for my point. It's a 1 in 1,000, which means on average, you have to do, because you're gonna get dupes and stuff like that. This is how it currently is. It's gonna be 1,833 kills on average. And 0.33 repeating, 1,833.33 repeating kills on average to get the entire set of Inquisitors. Now, there's some math about this. I can explain this more if people want me to go into detail and explain it. It's a very nerdy thing, but like, this is using like some coupon collector math. That's fucking nuts. And if you're doing 6.5 kills an hour, because like, or 6 kills an hour, because let's think about this realistically. 6 kills an hour, sorry. You're killing, each one is taking like 10 minutes to fucking kill. In some cases, whatever, resupplies and everything like that. If you're doing like 8-minute kills and having to resupply and shit like that, whatever. Long ass run back. It's gonna take you 282 fucking hours to get full Inquisitor. Just for comparison, I think Torpor with duos is like 70. It's like 70 hours. Full Bandos takes 26 to 35, depending on how you're set up. Like think about this. This shit is like 3 to 4 times longer. 4 times, and in some cases 10 times longer to get than other gear for what, 7.5% at best increase when using a specific item? You're fucking kidding me. It's ass. And I thought about it more, because here's what I was thinking. Here's what I couldn't scratch out of my brain. I was like, how does that make sense? It's so hard to get. Why isn't it more expensive? And then I realized, oh yeah, I forgot how economics works. The theory of subjective value explains it. Nobody wants the fucking armor set. That's why it's so cheap. Like, sure, the pieces are kind of expensive, but they're the price of Bandos gear. Why are they the price of Bandos gear? Simple. Because they're not much better than Bandos. For most people, this shit is basically equivalent. If anything, it's worse because it's got horrible armor bonus, and the extra accuracy and damage bonus is so tiny, it doesn't matter. So people just go with Bandos gear. So it's like, which is worth more. And like, the Nightmare Staff is okay. It's okay, but the Harmonized Orb is what people want to go for. So when you do this math, I mean, like, look, it's great that we're lowering the drop rate by 50%. But like, can we be honest here? The armor is fucking garbage. It's not that good for how long it takes to, like, in the sheer time it takes to get the full set. Now, we'd have to change the math around here, because I think that I'd have to really think about the math for a second. I can't think about the math right now. I think it would be a lot faster to get the armor set after the fact, because it would be, this dupe prevention, I think, helps a ton, because I think it makes it so that, I forgot how it works. So is it like a 1 in 90 chance to roll? So does this make it so that if it's a 1 in 50 chance, you have a 1 in 50 chance of rolling that, and then it rolls again? Yeah, I think that's how it works. So it's a 1 in 150 chance to roll that table, and then you could get one of the 4 pieces. I think that makes sense. So 1 in 150, and then 1 in 4. Yes. That makes way more. Yes, that's how it worked. How it worked before was a 1 in 1. Now it's a 1 in 150 and then 4. So, and then 1 in 4 chance for a specific piece. So for any piece, it was 1. So it's 1 in 150 3 times basically is what you have to roll. So 450 kills, 450 kills. Assuming, and that's not including the Nightmare Staff, which is going to also be interfering here. So if you need to get, there's a 1/4 chance to get So basically, you need to roll it 4 times on average, I would say. 3.5 or whatever time. I don't know the exact math, but let's say you got it all in your first try. So best case scenario, all Inquisitor armor pieces on your first try each time. Then it's gonna be 450 kills on average. I mean, it's actually gonna be less than this, to be honest with you, but I don't think it really matters that much for this. Divided by 6 per hour is still 75 hours. Okay, that makes it better. It's still like on par with Torva, with duos and teams. So I just sit here and I'm like, that's great and all. It's still ass. It's still not that good. Like, this armor set is still double what other armor of equivalent. Yeah. So this is only gonna make the armor cheaper. Why? Because more of it's gonna come into the game because it's easier to get now. But the question is, like, that's fine, but it's still ass. So in my mind, the dupe prevention is big for irons. The dupe prevention is really big for irons. For mains, it's not going to change the fact that the armor still fucking sucks. Like, no one's going to use it. It's not that it sucks, sorry. It's not that it sucks. It sucks for how hard it is to get. Like, literally, they could make this shit so much faster to get, and it wouldn't be a problem. I don't know why they were like these numbers I just felt like they just threw them out there with no real consideration. I could just be wrong on my math, I understand. So I could be totally wrong. But from my understanding of the math, it just feels like, why is, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Whatever. Dupe prevention helps a lot for getting the full set for Ironmen and stuff like that. For non-Ironmen, it still helps to get a collection log and stuff like that, but just like, man, it's still crap. Like, why? I still would just recommend going to Bandos, just never touching this shit at all, and then like skipping over it completely and then getting Torva. Because Bandos is at least useful for most of the game. So, that's my... And it isn't specific to a specific item. So, yeah. Whatever. Anyways. Okay. Well, what time are we? We are at 1 hour. Holy fuck. Well, somebody better be enjoying this over a couple days or a long period of time. During a gaming session or some shit. Okay, next thing. What about min hit adjustments? Okay. I read this at first, and I just saw the headline, like the thumbnails of people's videos and stuff like that, and my take was, what the fuck is everyone complaining about? I didn't realize at the time I was reading the updated version of the fucking post, so I now understand people were complaining about it. The way that they were suggesting it kind of sucked. Well, sorry, it's not that it really sucked. I actually, personally, I was okay with the way that they suggested it, which was essentially what they were going to do, for those who don't know about the min hits. So the way that they're adjusting minimum hits now, so that minimum hits roll. So typically the way hits work in the game of RuneScape is that your character, whenever they attack an enemy, has a chance of they roll like an invisible number, and basically I think it's you roll a big number, the enemy rolls a number for defense, and they just check which of these two is bigger. Right, so the more numbers that you can roll, so if you can roll, let's say 10,000, which is kind of close to like, you roll anywhere between like 10,000, 30,000 or some shit like that. The enemy can roll like 1,000 to, or 0 to like whatever, 1,000 to like 20,000 or something. So because these two different dies, you have like 10,000, because you have 10,000 more numbers on top of what they could roll, you have a higher chance of hitting them. I think it ends up working out so that like, most of the time you're going to roll higher than what they can roll on average, so you will hit them more. That's the idea of how it works. That's just to hit. Once you hit, the damage has to be calculated. And the way the damage calculation works is that you have a max hit that's calculated through whatever formula that Jagex uses, and then the way you roll your damage is anywhere between 0 and that max. It's a random number between 0 and your max hit. So even if you successfully hit the enemy, you have a chance of hitting a 0 still, which kind of blows, because for certain special attacks, what matters to special attack is as long as you hit the enemy, that counts. But because a hit can technically still land 0 damage, you have no way to tell if you actually hit the enemy, so you can't tell about how things work, and that can be really annoying sometimes. But also it's just kind of feels uncomfy in the head when you roll to hit enemy and you don't do any damage. So I get that. I get people being upset and wanting that to change. So this was me trying to figure out what the hell this was talking about. Well, we're gonna ignore that. So the way that they decide to do, the way that we're proposing to change this was like, oh, we're gonna make it so zeros now hit once. This is how they talked about a long time ago with Scythe rebalancing, Osmumten Fang rebalancing and stuff like that. When they made the Osmumten's Fang have the slash only do like not do the double roll for accuracy. Anyways, that's a whole separate thing. the first thing in my mind was like, okay, if they now make that 1, so how does it work? So how does it work? They're proposing it work now. The way they're proposing it work, they were proposing it originally for it to work back on the 16th, was that 0 became 1, but they realized this was going to shift the average damage you would do up a little bit, so they decided to compensate for this by cutting off your max hit from whatever it was down by 1. So basically, it just decreases the range of potential I'm making fucking hand diagrams, and you guys can't see what I'm moving my hands, you guys can't see it. Anyways, it basically makes it so that, yeah, now, if your original damage was like here, this is 0, and this is like 30. Now it's going to be 129. On average, you're going to still meet in the middle. I know this is the median, but technically, because it's a uniform distribution, it's the median, because it's a symmetric and uniform distribution. It's a symmetric distribution. The median and median is the exact same. It doesn't matter. The point is, you're going to hit the same damage in either of these situations on average. There's a little bit less randomness now, so you're a little bit more consistent in that timing, but not a big deal overall. Personally, I don't see why this matters that much. The damage increase we're talking about is minuscule. It's utterly minuscule to make it so that people's damage now goes from being like, instead of 0 to like 1 now. The concern is, but what about the early game? Bro, at the early game where you roll, yeah, this is actually, sorry, a big part, this is why some people, you'll see them say actually getting a DPS increase, or getting a max hit increase actually increases their accuracy, because like theoretically now you have less of a chance of hitting 0. If you start rolling, if you are like at level 1 strength and attack, where you can now hit, where you hit 1s, if you get the ability to start hitting 2s, you now essentially have a 33% chance to hit a 0, a 1, or a 2. You increase your accuracy, whereas before you had 50% chance to hit a 0 or a 1. So that means even if you hit the enemy, so it's not hard enough, it's not bad enough that you're just missing the fucking rat with your bronze sword stabbing that shit. You now also have a 50% chance to hit, have 50% chance to even land damage once you hit the enemy. So this just will speed it up. This will make it so that now you'll hit guaranteed, which means that you only have to worry about your chance to hit when attacking it, like a rat or something. And then you have a guaranteed chance. So it actually increases your DPS quite a bit. But the concern is, but what about integrity? The problem is, because like the concern is like, right, like, oh, this is increasing damage. Yeah, but it's increasing damage by making it so that low levels do a lot more damage. Effectively, this is a massive increase for low levels, right? But we're talking about hyper low levels because literally for everyone else besides, like, if you're like at level, if you can have a max hit of 10, it's gonna be it's actually, sorry, it disproportionately favors really low hitting weapons. It disproportionately, because if you do like 20 damage, no longer doing a 0, which used to be a 1 in 20 chance, you now do 1 to 20 is like actually a 5% DPS increase, which is pretty big for a lot of gear. So in some cases, like for the blowpipe, this is actually real, or like the ham joint or swift blade, the really fast new weapons, this is actually really, really powerful. So I can be sympathetic to people being like, oh, to them saying that's actually not good. It makes the blowpipe a little bit too powerful. But, or like the scythe, I think it also makes the scythe a lot stronger now, because the scythe, the way the scythe works is it has a max hit, and I think it splits that damage in half, and that's the hit for the second hit. I don't know the exact specifics, but basically it has a big hit at once, and then it has 2 smaller hits, and the smaller hits are also now going to be just buffed by having them not hit 0s anymore. It's not a massive buff, but it's like, it's a buff, and it's worthwhile to talk about. And I think the concern is that they don't want that damage increase, so they want it to narrow the range. A lot of players, really the main criticism against this from I can see is, it just feels really bad. It just feels dumb. It feels bad to narrow down the max hits. The max hits looked good, and like that just doesn't make the game feel as good, because now when you're doing your max hit calculations, it's like, oh, it's not really your max hit. Your max hit is actually your max hit minus 1. That just feels really fucking bad from the calculations. And it's like, it's possible that I think No Monkey was testing. There was just so many bugs and like weird things where it wasn't adding up properly that they just decided that, like, it's just, I kind of tend to agree with, like, if we're gonna add it, just fucking add it, and who cares? It's silly to worry about this. The extra damage increase is just not enough to really make it that big of a deal. The other option, which is what Jagex is proposing now, is actually just make 0 a 1 now, and then keep 1s as 1s. So if you do, and then they explain it here, if you're gonna do, what's it called? If you're gonna do, I don't think they explain it, actually, sorry, they don't explain it here. If you're gonna do a 3, like if your max hits a 4, the hits you can do now will be 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be your hit distribution. So on average now, the way your hits are going to be is like your average hit's going to be 2. Sorry, that's actually not going to be your average. It's going to be 2 plus 2, which is 4, plus 3, 7, plus 4 is 11. 11 divided by 2 is going to be what? 5.5? No, sorry. 11 divided by 5. Oh my god, oof. 11 divided by 5. 2.2 is your new average DPS. Whereas prior just used to be, so it's a bit of an increase, but it's a tiny increase in this situation here. And it's the same general thing, but like it's just this extra, these double ones here make it reduce the effect a lot. I think cuts it in half, or something like that. So the net increase it would have given is, I think, decreased by, actually I don't think that's actually accurate. Doesn't matter. It basically just prevented it from being a much larger average DPS. Your DPS doesn't increase by that much as much. It doesn't increase by as much. This is like an okay solution. Like personally, I don't really care that much. Like if they want to do this, fine. It just feels bad. You know what I mean? It just feels kind of crappy that this is the case. If you want my honest take for all of this, this is my honest to God take for how to fix this. This is like an alternative solution. They could just keep it how it is with the damage roll, but just indicate, like, you know how when you hit a max hit in the game, you can tell it's your max hit because it's like brighter? Just do that for the 0. Just make it so that your 0 that misses is like a different color or something. I would say make it a different color entirely. Maybe do something weird to it, like whatever. Make it like hollow or something. Or make it so that the one that hits has a slightly different color. So that way you know when you're landing a spec, I hit that. So I could do something else. Honestly, I think that would just fix the problem. The other, any of these changes, you guys let me know what you guys think what the best change. For all these changes, go ahead and let me know if you think I'm an idiot. I mean, don't be rude. If you're just rude, I'm just gonna block your thing. I'm just gonna block your comment and then like post a reply of me laughing at you or something, and then you won't be able to even reply. But you know, if it's a genuine criticism that's like, oh, I don't agree with you, whatever, that's fine. Just be respectful is all I'm saying. And that goes with everybody in the comments. If anyone's commenting, please be respectful to their comments. No, I don't want to tolerate anyone being an asshole. I don't tolerate anyone being an asshole on this type of stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just in my mind, I don't really see much. Like, to me, this is like somewhat unappealing, but like I don't really care that much. A lot of players seem to be very upset, or not a lot of players. The players that I saw people talk, all the posts and everything I saw, and the videos I watched, which admittedly was only a few, and I haven't surveyed the player base. I haven't done a poll on the player base, so I don't know how they really feel. Ultimately, what will really matter is if we did a poll, we could then see how people really felt. Posts online do not convey actually how people feel, but do not convey what the public feels at large, what a group of people feel at large. Okay, I'm going into too much detail. It doesn't matter. The point is, this just feels really silly to me. I don't like this change. Being like, sorry, it's not silly. I don't care. Sorry, it's not that silly. I just don't care that much. The other option is that with the removing 0 and just like having it or removing the 0 so it's just this. This is also fine with me. I know it's a DPS increase. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And the other option of leaving it 0. So in my mind, there's 3 options. Make the 0 a 1. Get rid of the 0 and just accept the damage increase, or keep the 0 but somehow indicate that it's a 0. That's all. Alright, nothing much to talk about here. Prayer changes. Same exact, so what they're doing for prayer is this. So they're deciding to they realize the early level prayers in the game, so this is going to be like Mystic Might, Mystic Lore, or some shit like that, whatever they're all called, Mystic Will or something like that, whatever. Clarity of Thought. Ones you would never even have heard of or used before. Thick Skin. Are really low level. They barely do anything to boost your stats at all. I think they increase your stats by 5%, but you won't even... The problem is that a lot of the time players even get access to these spells, they're not even at a point where they would even do things, because the spells would even do things. Because the way that RuneScape Engine works is it rounds down effects. Until you're level 20, you won't even notice an effect. Like, you have to be level 20 strength or level 20 attack for Clarity of Thought to even boost your attack level to 21. So... it's like no one's using this shit level 21 anyway, so there's no point to them. So they decided to make, and then also the drain rate is so high on these prayers that you can't even use them. So what they're doing now is they're going to make it so that if your levels of these stats are below 20, you will at least get a boost of 1. So that way there's some effect. It's not going to be much, but like these are low-level boosts. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, in my mind, sure. In my mind, I'm cool with this. I don't see a problem. Fix it, makes it better. No problem at all. I put K. Like, because it's just like, yeah, there's no downside to this at all. There was one, and they're also reducing the trade thing, but this is something I noticed. I don't think anyone's really talked about this. Has anyone ever noticed how, like, prior to Piety, prior to Chivalry, the melee prayers, you have to activate 2 of them at the same time to have the effect that you would get from, like, using a range or a mage one, and that is, like, double drain rate. Because you're using 2 prayers. Like, if I want to activate... Where is it? Oh, no. Why am I using Echoes? This is why I don't use Google. I don't even actually use Google Chrome. I usually... I use fucking Opera GX, but whatever. What the fuck am I doing? OSRS prayer. Can I use the prayers, please? Look at the prayers. Prayer list. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Burst of strength, clarity of thought. Oh my god, that looks so ugly too, to be honest with you. 1 point per 12 seconds. That's fine, but you have to activate both of these to have the effect of increasing your strength and your attack. So, like, doing that, you actually drain 1 per 1.6 per 6 seconds versus Sharp Eye or Mystic Will, where you actually drain only half of that amount. I don't know why they haven't changed that yet, because it just feels like insanely obvious to me that you should absolutely change that. But, like, what the hell? I don't know why they haven't changed that. It just feels so bad in my mind that they haven't changed that. That's one thing they gotta change as well. Okay. Small thing, not the end of the world, whatever. Autocast delay. Okay, so now they're changing. So this is something that maybe a lot of you don't really know. Maybe it depends on how you are, where you are in the game. There is a delay when you autocast spells. The delay is of 1 tick. It's not a big deal, but like it just makes it so manually casting is almost always superior to initiate any combat. If you're gonna initiate combat, you want to manually cast, and your character will move into auto casting. The auto casting will be like 5 ticks apart, unless you're using like a harmonized staff or. I don't believe a Kodai attacks at 4 ticks, does it? I'm learning so much today. Kodai wand. I don't believe it attacks at 4 ticks when doing ancients. No, it casts at 5 ticks. And so, oh my god, I'm getting tired. I've been fucking yapping. Holy shit. I don't know how I've been able to yap this long. Yeah, still 5 ticks delay. But you autocast, and like, in my mind, no reason at all. There's no reason at all why there even is an autocast delay. So it's good that they're changing this. Easy fix, easy dub. Good. But yeah, no. So when you you manually cast, immediately cast out, then your auto cast is for 5 ticks later. Your guy goes into auto casting typically. But just yeah, it just makes it annoying the first time you use the spell. So yeah, good change. No reason to not do this. Theater of Blood versus Phase 2. Okay, I don't have much of a say about this because I haven't really done Theater of Blood. I've done pretty much everything else except Theater of Blood. Which I'm going to be doing pretty soon here. Anyways. They talk about how solo Theater of Blood enjoyers have expressed rotation at the disparity between how Berserk's mechanics are handled in normal versus hard modes. They're fixing this. I think, from what I saw, No Monkey, I think, talked about this a little bit more. He said, actually, that yes, they are fixing the blood ticks, whatever, the blood crabs, which they're despite clearly being ticks, whatever, who cares. Blood ticks. Shut up, nerds. They said that there's also something about, like, lightning. I don't know about the lightning. I don't remember the lightning when I don't know if it's an entry. I've done entry mode, Theater of Blood. I don't remember if it's there. But yeah, apparently the lightning effect is still present, which is apparently needs to be changed as well. So, sure. I don't know anything about it, but if that's the case, then, like, cool. I don't know anything about it. I don't have much of a say. In my opinion, it's like, I said, yeah, sure, why not? Okay. TOA monkeys. Okay. Now, they're changing the TOA monkey room for the 18th time, approximately. What they're changing specifically is that they're changing the health of the spawns in the path of Apnican. So the meleeers can range anywhere between 25 to 30 HP. The baboon, the rangers could have anywhere between 30 to 35, and the majors can have anywhere between 20 to 25. The key difference now, so they're increasing the HP a little bit by those guys. Now that sounds bad. The key difference now, though, is that if you hit them with the appropriate style that they're weak to, they will take max hits, max damage. So the meleeers, if you hit them with magic, will always hit max hit. The rangers hit with melee will take max, and the meleeers and the majors taking range will always get hit max hit. Isn't that right? Majors get ranged. Rangers get melee. Okay, whatever. Whatever. It's right here. I'm not gonna fucking go over it right now. This is a good change. I don't see a downside to this because it's not too hard to hit these max hits. Like honestly, it's just really not. Your trident will always hit this with very little gear. Like it doesn't require it requires more gear swaps the higher raid level you go. But for like honestly, for most raids, this is very easy to do. Baboon shamans. The volatile ones and the poison fuckers and then the spawns are not affected by this at all, so they will still be required to... You still need to like take them out like the normal way, the way you typically do. But like overall, I think this is a really good change. And I checked this out. The only thing I was really concerned about was like, well, what about Baboon Mage? With Amethyst Darts, Assembler, and Anguish, and I think Rigor. No, sorry, I actually calculated it. I said, hey, at max raid level, so this is the max HP they could get, 99 range, you'll be able to blow pipe mages with Amethyst, Anguish, and Assembler without boost or rigor. Okay, so yeah, so I think I calculated this to say, like, it's very doable and not much of a concern. And if you can only get rune darts or whatever, you can pray rigor and you should be fine. So I think I calculated this and it was that, like, it's no biggie. This is okay. So this is, like, very easy to kill these guys. I think it actually makes it safe to do, like, less swaps, to be honest, in a lot of situations. But this is, like, really, really cool and a really nice change, and I like this change a lot. It will make the room a lot more fun, in my opinion. Because I think that was the thing people were talking about. They made that's what made, like, a lot of... When I think this is, people are saying this is like a nod to Berserker from Leagues, because when you played Leagues, there was a relic that allowed you to max hit enemies as long as it was the first hit you were doing on them. And it was so much better to go through all of that room by just like one-shotting fucking everything. Holy shit. So thank God that they're fixing this. And yeah, the 25 to 30, they're saying here 30 to 35. This is due to the fact of like the enemies will be scaling like off rate. So they'll start at 25 at the lowest invocation, which is like entry, and then they can go all the way up to 30. So yeah, pretty cool. Happy about it. Next change they're making is they made Baba now hits a lot less damage through melee prayer from what she used to hit. So now she used to do 33% of damage through her melee prayer, which is psychotic to me considering that she was hitting fucking 30s through prayer at like 200 raid level. What the fuck? That means she could hit up to like 60s. Oh my god. That being said, 25% damage through melee prayer now, so if she's hitting 60s, she's now going to be hitting fucking 15s, which is a lot. Sorry, not 30s. She was hitting 30s through pairs of 90s. 25%, 15%, 25% of 90s is going to be... Thank you, calculator. Thank you, calculator. I love you. 22 damage. It's actually a lot less. That makes it way better. The truth of the matter is, I'm still going to be red Xing. It doesn't matter. Dude, she could be hitting fucking 10% damage now. Actually, if she was hitting 10% damage, I wouldn't red X. But, like, I'm still going to red X because it's just, like, very easy to do and, like, conserves so much in supplies. It's just... It's not worth it. It will allow people to push higher invocation level, which once again, makes TOA a lot more money per hour, but still. Whatever. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Super players losing to so much DPS to Red Axe, although looking to save supplies will find it isn't removed entirely. I think someone made a good point, but I think it was a very niche point, which was that like super high level players don't even bring supplies to TOA. Yeah, they really don't. I think they bring like one super restore, but like truthfully speaking, that's like one group of players. Most people are bringing supplies. This isn't gonna be that, but this is like fine. I think this is like fine. Just a good change. I think overall this change is good, but like so. In general, thoughts on the update. I want to get some closing thoughts on this because I'm talking for a long fucking time and I gotta go to bed because I'm tired as shit and I'm way past my bedtime. A couple things I want to talk about. Number one, overall, changes are actually pretty solid. If I look at all the changes in the room, all the changes down here, let's just close all these things. Let's do our end goal here and like everything. Man, we talked about a lot of shit today. Okay. Couple things. Magic Gear and the Occult Necklace. Overall, I would say it's a neutral to anything. It leans slightly more negative to me because it's just not fixing the main problem. But it's just ultimately irrelevant to me. No real change. Slight buff, slight boost. This is like a 0.1 out of 5 stars. If we're assuming the grade is F to A, this is like a C plus for this. It's like, or sorry, no, it's a D. It's like barely above failing. It's a D minus, barely above failing. Like it's slightly better for the game to do this, but like it's irrelevant overall. The big fuck off hammer, B. I give it a B. It's okay. So let's do this. This is a D minus as its grade. D minus. This is a B. I think overall it's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Actually, it's an A minus. It's an A minus. Actually, it's an A. There's no downside to this. They could even make it better, in my opinion. That's why, actually, A minus. It could be better. Fuck it. Ink armor. I'm doing this, by the way, giving grades, because I want it to be seen as, like, overall, this is a good update. Like, I think it could be easy to just fixate on like 2 or 3 things and be like, this fucking thing sucks. But like, truthfully, everything here is fine. Everything here is fine. Like, everything here is generally positive. Nothing here is like, get rid of this shit. It's fucking horrible for the game. Like this, I don't care. If they made this change, it's not going to ruin the game for me. It's actually making it a little bit better. It's just not that big of a deal. Inquisitor armor. The changes here is a C. It's good, not good enough. There's so much more that can be changed for this. The dupe prevention is by far the most important thing, at least to me. But Voidwaker changes. This shit is a fat fucking F. There's no reason for these changes whatsoever. They will make the content worse. It shouldn't be changed, period. It should not be changed at all. Ancient Godsword, I'm just gonna leave it blank. Because I don't got a fucking opinion on it. I am not qualified to... if I speak, I am in trouble. I'm not qualified to answer this. I'm so cooked. Holy shit. I am not qualified to answer this shit. In PVM, it is irrelevant. This is a purely... This is a... I'm just realizing, where the fuck is the... What the fuck is this? Oh wait, let's not do that. I'm like formatting this shit right now and I'm trying to like end this video. Fuck me, man. There we go. Okay, sorry, the Soulreaper axe. S tier. It's not even on the... It's A++. Just fantastic changes all around. No downsides here at all. I don't even know if I would add any other buffs to it. Like, I'm not even gonna make recommendations because I think this is enough. Let's test it. This is good enough. Let's test it. If it needs more changes, we'll add more. I am totally content with how it is. I don't know if it's perfect because like the truth is I have no idea. It might get into the game and might go, you know what? It's still not good enough. But like, as an update from Jagex without any real solid, super strong testing to be done and people really trying to break it and trying to figure out like all ways it can be good or bad, this is fine. This is a good change in my opinion. The big fuck off hammer is great. Ink arbor, it's a C because like just so much more is needed to be done for this. Voidwaker, they shouldn't do this. Dragon Warhammer, it's a B. It's like not a big deal. Like thanks, they're making the change, but like who cares? Nightmare drop party, increasing the drop rates. This is a C plus. Actually, it's a C plus. It could be a B plus. By the way, there's no objective criteria. There is no objective criteria behind the fuck I'm evaluating all this stuff. It's just vibes. C plus. It could be way better. Like it just feel like it's better, but it's not like. Oh wait, sorry. Get this right. Ink armor. The changes to the Inquisitor armor. Ah, yeah. D minus. This shit should be way stronger. really is more of a D. It's just a D. Like, it just should be so much better. It's just not enough. It's like, thank you for making it better. It's still garbage. Like, it's actually, it's a D-. It's so useless. It's literally D-. Okay. That being said, Nightmare Drop Party, C+. It's a little better, but not that great. Min-hit adjustments, I genuinely, any way they go with this, if they add any of the methods that they were suggesting, are fine with me. I prefer to go with either just get rid of the 0 entirely. Actually, sorry, I just don't care. I think I lean slightly more towards my suggestion. Personally, I don't really mind that we have 0 in the hits, to be honest with you. It's not that big of a deal to me, but assuming we do have it, we do go that way. But if we don't go with any of them. So to me, this is more like a C. Like, who cares if this ad's added or doesn't get added? Prayer changes. This is a C+. No downside to having this in the game at all. These changes at all, but like ultimately it just harks on the same. One of the big problems of this entire thing with the magic gear, most of the magic gear and the ink armor and the prayer changes, the percent change is so fucking minimal. It doesn't matter. Increasing stuff by like 2%, woo, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. You literally have to do 50. If it's a 2% damage increase, you have to do at least 50 fucking damage to notice any change. If it's 2% increase, you have to have at least level 50 to notice any change at all in your level. So like, it's just not that big of a deal in a lot of situations. A lot of these changes just don't matter. Like the 0.5% Sears one just makes me fucking laugh every time I see it. It's just like, it's not bad, it's like so crap most of them. Who cares? Is all I'm thinking. But whatever. Anyways, autocast delay. This is a A. A as in like no downside. Just do this immediately. Verzic phase 2. I am not qualified to answer this. All right. ... I just don't have enough of an opinion. TOA Monkey Roo. This is I think it's going to be a B+ for me. B+. Like, good. I'm happy with it. No downside. Actually, sorry. A-. A-. Monkey. Okay. Now, all that being said, let's get to the big couple things I want to talk about for this. There's one more thing I want to talk about. So, I summed up all my design, all my feelings and everything. Let's talk about the last thing. We're going to end the video here. Rebalancing / nerfing gear as a way to... Now, okay. So, this is talking about more about Inquisitors, elemental rebalance, magic gear changes. They've been talking about wanting to open up the reward pool into more horizontal progression to allow more items that can have more niches and stuff like that, to fill out more niches. They want to open up the way for more design options. I think, as a general rule of thumb, that's cool. I'm totally in favor of new items coming in and having niches and stuff like that. I'm happy with that. I don't have a concern with that. The concern I have is the idea that we're going to then like nerf and rebalance gear on the principle of just opening up more options without explaining what any of those options are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it does not make me feel good to see, hey, we're gonna nerf or change all this gear around because we want to add more options. Oh, what are you guys thinking of adding? We don't know yet. Like, well, that doesn't make me feel good. It's like, how do I know you're even going to add something? Like I don't want to nerf and leave shit hanging off the off chance you guys are gonna think of something later. Like, at least have, like, okay, in my mind, I would feel better if it was like, we have some ideas now. I would feel so much better if it was like, oh yeah, we have a bunch of ideas, but we literally can't do this now because of the fact that the current way the game is, there isn't a space to do all this stuff. There is, like this gear would not have it would not fit in the meta. Fine, then make the changes. Now, I understand, and so to me, it's like, we're just gonna make a bunch of changes off the whim. Like no, why would we want to do this? Like, to me, you're adding more randomness, more confusion into the game, on the off chance of figuring something out, which you might never ever do. So then then you could be fucking everything up for the sake of no real benefit for the foreseeable future. You know what I mean? In my mind, The alternative option, so I think it's better to just like have the ideas, and first they'd be like, we could squeeze something in here, it could feel good, so then let's nerf stuff around or move stuff around to add to make space for. Now, sorry. How do I say this? Actually, you know what? Maybe I changed my mind on this. I'm trying to think now. There's a couple things I want to think about now. Okay, sorry. I think the logic is that the other. Here's, I'll say this. I'll extend an olive branch. I do understand as a creative individual, if you're trying to create something. I'm not saying that I'm creative. I'm just saying if you are a creative person, I can understand the idea of like it's sometimes hard to get an idea of where you can create something new without just opening the path for new stuff. Okay, we're turning this shit off. This just does not match the vibe. That being said, I can understand the idea of just opening the path to creating or to making new, to allowing you to create new gear and stuff like that, to put new gear in places. I can be sympathetic to that idea. And so we just need to open the way so we can have design space to do this and we can figure it out when we're there. I think that's fine. I just think that type of logic doesn't fly in a lot of places. Like, it's just not a good idea to start changing things for the sake of giving yourself space to add stuff. That being said, I don't know if it's a good idea to just start changing shit around. I don't know if it's a good idea to like, oh, we want to add a new piece of gear, but in order to like make it have a place, we're going to nerf a bunch of other shit so we can squeeze it in. That also feels really bad too. Like, so back in the day when they were thinking about adding Virtus, they were thinking about, I think, nerfing the occult to add Virtus. And I think some people expressed a lot of criticism at the time. Maybe it was something else. In my mind at the time when they were suggesting doing that, my mind was thinking, if you are trying to nerf shit to add Virtus, to add another piece of gear into the game, clearly you're just artificially creating space for this gear to exist. Like, the gear has no place, but you're just creating a niche for it and then throwing it in there. So, like, it is completely arbitrary to throw this in there. So, I'm sympathetic to both. Like, I'm kind of not really giving Jagex an option here. I'm basically just saying dig deeper and find a new place to put shit. And then don't change anything. And don't, so, like, yeah. And I think Jagex is kind of saying, we're out of ideas. We want to open up paths to have new ways to add stuff. We're struggling to figure stuff out. And then, like, oh, yeah, we're struggling to figure stuff out. And, like, we can't. So maybe it is the case that it is hard. I think, I will say, though, I don't know where I sit on this. I think but I could be just making that shit up. I don't actually know if that's how they feel. To me, or I could be projecting is what I mean. To me, or assuming too much, to me, in general, I don't think it's a good idea to just willy-nilly change and open things up for the sake of potentially adding new items without really any idea. If it was like, I think I'd feel a little better if there was like, hey, we would like to add things here, here, and here, but we need to have the game rebalanced in a state where we can do that. That would be ideal. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave this open-ended. How about you guys tell me in the comments what you think about this. Do you think it's a good idea for Jagex to rebalance and nerf stuff to give the way to new options, or it's better for them to have their mind made up beforehand and then like they can just change it then add the new items? I tend to lean a little bit. I think now I'm actually coming around more towards thinking it is okay for them to do this. Because as long as they're not overly nerfing stuff and keeping the path open and adding, you know, sufficient buffs or things like that into the game and items in places where like we can get more specific niches, so making weapons more specific, more general, so we can add more stuff to it, and doing that, you know, prior so they have time to identify these new spots and niches. I think I'm okay with that, actually. So I think I'm more in favor with this idea now. I've kind of come around as I've talked about it more. But I'm willing to be, you know, debated or people to convince me otherwise on this. Anyways, okay, that's it. That was a long fucking time. It's an hour and 45 minutes right now on my timer, or my recorder. I hope to God the audio is good, as I am not listening to this shit back again. Well, I'm going to listen to it quickly, like bits and pieces of it to make sure it's all good. But if the audio is fucked, I don't know if I'll re-record this. That being said, hopefully it was enjoyable to hear me soy and rant and scream and or whatever stuff I did in my little report card of it. Overall, I think, you know, it's not too bad to grade. I mean, it's not great. You know, I think Jagex is going to get dinner tonight. I'm not going to withhold dinner from them. I think they did good enough. But, yeah, there's some things I think still should be changed and fixed here. I mean, overall, if they make all these updates go into the game, I'm not going to, like, cry or anything. I'll be fine. I would just like to see different things happen for different things, for some of these changes. But if you like this, go ahead and subscribe. Try to be more consistent with uploads. I don't really have a guaranteed schedule. I'm a pretty busy guy. I just make stuff that I think is fun at the time. But, you know, I still really appreciate it. That being said, thanks, and have a good one. See you on the next one.